Hello chats, good morning. Today we're gonna talk about the 6 things the C6 Corvette got right. Wait, 6 or 5? Let's do 5. Today we're gonna talk about the 5 things the C6 Corvette got right and why it makes you feel so special when you buy one of these cars. So let's get into the video. Let's begin with point number 1. And that is that the C6 Corvette has a plain interior. And you might be thinking, plain interior, that's not a good thing. That means it lacks features, but not really. When they designed the car, they made it so that you really focus on the driving experience. They even went as far as putting a heads-up display on the windshield, and that's something that was not seen back in those days. I think 2006 was the first year where they had that, or maybe 2005. But that was not a thing back in the days. Nowadays it's really common. It's not really that surprising. That's how much they wanted to keep you just focus on driving, because they didn't want you looking down at the cluster to see how fast we were going or when to shift. And these little details just tell you how well the car was designed. It doesn't look busy. Everything that you need is there and nothing else. Nothing else is gonna get in the way of you driving this car and enjoying it. In some cars, I'm not gonna say some names or some manufacturers like Porsche or anything like that, but in some cars you get in and the center console looks like the cockpit of an AC-130. It's just way too busy. It's distracting. But not with the C6 Corvette. And you might be thinking, if it has less things, then that's not good, because more is better. But in reality, and with this car, less is more. And more or less, this car reminds me of the Dodge Viper when it comes to the interior. And I'll put some footage up there of how the Viper interior looks. And I don't know, it just gives me the same vibe. The Dodge Viper was a car that was made with performance and the driving experience in mind. It kind of feels analog, even though we know this is a more modern car. It definitely feels raw, and as you know, raw is always better. There's another thing that the C6 Corvette got right, and a lot of people have never considered this, but I did some deep thinking. Nobody else has done this as good as the Corvette, and that is making a car with the shape of an animal. Because the whole idea of the Corvette is to make it look like a stingray. And is a stingray an animal, or is it a fish? We'll just call it an animal. If you look at a Corvette from the side, all the shapes, how the wheel well area, the rear quarter panel, it definitely looks like a stingray. And there's very few animals that you can do this with and get away with having a car that looks really good. Because imagine if somebody made a car based off of possum. It wouldn't look that good, would it? That was a really good idea they put together. They saw this animal that looks pretty exotic and they translated that to making a car look exotic. So that's another detail that the C6 Corvette got right. The lines of the car are so smooth and aerodynamic. You can tell they were very focused on looks and not as much as cooling, because they didn't add the proper vents to keep the car cool. Because these cars, they do overheat a lot because of that reason. It doesn't matter because you have a beautiful car. The only other car that I can think about going back to it is a Dodge Viper. I'm gonna put an image of it from the front. If you look at a Dodge Viper directly ahead, definitely looks like an angry, vicious Viper. Picture this. You're out on a hike, you're having fun, you're getting your daily cardio in. You decide to take a little pit stop. Pull it out. You're watering the plants. All of a sudden you look down and you see a vicious Dodge Viper looking at you. That'd be pretty scary. That'd be so intimidating, because there's a vicious Viper about to go into a full-on fight with your little ball python. So the third thing that the C6 Corvette got right is that it serves a purpose. It has a place in the market. So what does this mean? Well, if you think about it, people want to buy the C6 Corvette because of what it can offer to them. It's not just an expensive Chevy. It's not like some other manufacturers that they have a car already and they just keep throwing a different engine in it, upgrading the price tag. The Corvette is actually a perfect package of performance and luxury. If you start off with the base model, it's a blank canvas to do any type of mods that your little smooth brain can imagine. But if you buy the CR1, that's supercar status. The Grand Sport is a perfect car if you want to compete in motorsports, if you want something upgraded from the base model that looks a little bit better. If you get the CO6, that's the car for the purist, just to keep it as it is. Drive it, enjoy it. Now if you get the CR1, it's the perfect racetrack car that's gonna show your dominance to any peasant that lines up next to you in the streets. So there's levels to this thing. I'm like right here in between. Oh, not even in between. I'm right here at the bottom with the Grand Sport. There's still the CO6, there's still the CR1. Like I said before, we're all part of the Corvette family, and that's what matters, right? Another thing that the C6 Corvette got right is that it stayed true to its roots. The Corvette kept it real. Everybody knows what it's about. Everybody knows how it gets down. It's got street cred. It stays posted up in the block with the V8 tucked in, ready for action. It rumbles like a glissy with the switch on it. It smokes all the ops that line up next to you. It puts them in a backwood. I gotta take off my black Air Force Ones here. We gotta take them off, my bad. The C6 Corvette especially is one of the cars that stayed true to its roots. It's still a two-seater sports car, mid-engine, doesn't have a back seat. It's a good combination of luxury and sport at a good price. All the body shapes, all the body lines are very similar to the old school ones. It's not too obvious, but if you see the body lines of the cluster and the dash, it's very similar to the 1960s Corvette. I had a chance to drive one the other day, and as I was driving, I was looking around, and everything's very similar, from the way the dash in front of you curves. Then you got the center section kind of pointing towards you, and then on the passenger side you got another curve, so it's still kind of the same. It obviously looks very different, but it's very similar in the way the lines of the dash were designed. I'm not gonna say it's just the C6s, they're just sitting still, but you can already tell they're gonna sound good as hell when you turn it on, and you can already tell it's gonna be fast as hell. It's just a car that when you look at it, just think positive things about it. You may think about, oh yeah, owning this is gonna be expensive, and that's kind of a negative, but in reality, it's not, because you subconsciously want to buy that car. You want to have those problems. And now we're getting to the last thing that the C6 Corvette got right. And that is going to be, I said it before, it's timeless. You know that. But let me elaborate a little bit more. You can get an entry-level Corvette for a good price. But if you have a CR1, it is definitely a collector's item. It's not going to depreciate. It's just going to keep going up and up in price. So you're not really losing money when you buy one of these cars. If anything, you might even be making money. The only way you lose money is if you're tracking the car, beating the shit out of it. It's gonna be expensive because it's an expensive motorsport. You beating the crap out of it is definitely not gonna make the value go up. So I feel like the Corvettes age really well, kind of like a MILF at the gym. Everybody wants it. It's still cool. It's desirable. If you get a Lexus from 2010, the technology, the infotainment, everything feels so outdated. But this car had less things, and it definitely doesn't feel outdated. The performance definitely doesn't feel outdated. It still feels like a fast car. You are still gonna be pretty happy, I'm telling you, when you drive a C6 Corvette and you step on it. It's not gonna be disappointing. It's got a solid reputation. There's a big community behind it. There's so much aftermarket support for it, so much information. In the upcoming years, you're gonna see people begin to do crazier and crazier builds with these Corvettes, so be ready for that. And at the end of the day, even if everybody has those cars, I don't believe like they're gonna feel like they're less, like they're more common. Like it's not gonna feel like you're driving just a regular Camaro. It's still gonna feel special because when they designed the car, it was meant to make you feel special. The car itself, it fits any age group. Old people want it, young people want it, even rich people want it. Even people that have access to any other car, they still buy Corvettes and collect them. It is a collector's car, but it is mostly an enthusiast car. If you boost up an Integra, yeah, it's gonna be fast. It may be faster than a Corvette even, but when you're taking turns, you're gonna tell right away that the car was not meant to be driven that way. You don't get that with the Corvette, especially not with the C6. It was meant to be driven fast. We're changing the game now. There's a lot of young people wanting to get behind the wheel of these Corvettes, and I'm making me really happy. It's not a boomer's game no more. It's our time now. It's our time, because nowadays when you look around, all the boomers are getting into Teslas, the Rivians. They're going to the electric cars or cars that have better features, because they don't want to worry about breaking the law nowadays about emissions or the loud exhaust law that's been going on. So us, the younger chats, we don't care. We're just trying to go crazy. If you want to be part of the Corvette family, support the channel, help us grow, because I believe we have a good chance of making the biggest community of young Corvette owners. So subscribe, buy a Corvette, and never be slow again.